Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy and I missed y'all. Amen. Um I hope you guys are having an amazing day today, wherever you at. If you're having a good day today, just say amen. If you're not having a good day, it's okay. You know, it's gonna get better. Don't worry, just keep pushing, just keep moving forward. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys are all having a great day today. I'm glad that I have a little bit of time now to record this podcast for y'all. And throughout the podcast, you might hear the wind outside because that wind is howling outside for whatever reason. So so if you hear someone singing in the background, it's just the wind. So don't even worry about it. But again, I hope you guys are having a great day. Um, Today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about gentle parenting because I've been hearing a lot from people. They tell me that I'm so gentle and I'm so calm with my kids. And I appreciate that people, notice that and see that. And I'm definitely like I'm not ashamed of that at all. I do consider myself a gentle parent in the way that I parent my kids. But we're going to talk a little bit about gentle parenting and what that looks like for us here and what that may look like for you, or if you've been thinking about trying like a gentle parenting approach with your children, then hopefully this podcast is helpful. But to get into gentle parenting, let's start off with what it is, so exactly what it is. So, according to Senior Google, gentle parenting is an evidence-based approach to raising happy, confident children. This parenting style is composed of four main elements: empathy, respect, understanding, and boundaries, and focuses on fostering the qualities you want in your child by being compassionate and enforcing consistent boundaries. So, yeah, I that's pretty much me. Like that's how I parent my children. Um and honestly, like it works for me. Um I don't I don't believe that I have to constantly like yell at my kids to make them obey or understand my point. I talk very clear to them. I talk very concise. I don't mince my words. I don't, talk in riddles. I don't tell them something and expect them to read between the lines. Like I'm very clear and direct with what I tell my children. And I think that that's helpful, and it's a helpful approach in the way that I parent them, because I don't ever have any issues with my children understanding what I'm asking them to do. Like, and it's not one of those things where it's like, do this or else. Like, no, no, there is no or else part. It's just I'm asking you to do it, so you do it. there, so but yeah, I do, when there is an issue, or say we do have a conflict, I do try to understand first, okay, what's going on? How can I help? And in areas where I need to show compassion or understanding, empathy, like I can do that, and I do that. Um, so it really, and especially with kids today, I feel like, yeah, like being a kid is easy, but at the same time, kids are under a lot of pressure too. And I know for me, any way that I can kind of create a safe space and alleviate some of that off of my children, like I'm willing to do it, and it doesn't put any extra strain on me or anything like that. It's just what I can do for my children. So I don't have a problem with that. Um and I also don't believe in being physical, or that being physical with your children is always the solution, to make them understand, or to you know get it ingrained in them, like if something that they keep doing wrong. Like i don't I don't feel like beating my kids is the answer. um and some parents may parent that way, where they're kind of like, they're kind of really strict, and they don't have a problem whooping the kids ass, and to each their own. Not judging or anything like that, and I'm not saying that that is wrong. I'm just saying that that's a way that I choose not to discipline my children. Discipline in my house is comes in a different way, and really, I honestly really don't need to discipline my children often. Like when my son got suspended from school, his discipline was taking the electronics away. Like that was his punishment. Like that was, him being on restriction. But even when that happened, I wasn't like, "Ooh, when I get home, boy, I'm gonna beat your ass." Like it was none of that. We sat down and we talked about it, and he made me understand why he did what he did, and I made him understand why that wasn't okay, and why there are consequences to those actions. Um, so I try to talk calm with my kids, but I'm not a pushover, and I'm not a permissive parent. I do have boundaries. I do have limits. And when I talk to my kids, it's not like oh my God, like, oh, you did this. Oh my God, don't do it again. Like, when I speak calmly, but I have authority in my voice, and my kids understand, that I'm serious, without me having to yell, without me having to cuss them out, all that good stuff. I know how to be forward with my words without having to scare the living Jesus out of my kids in order to get them to respect me. Um and that's another component of gentle parenting, right? Is respect. Like I have to be able to show my children a level of respect, so that way I can get the respect in return, and then when they go into the outside world, they know how to respect other people. It all starts with us. It all starts in the home. So I show my kids respect. I don't disrespect them in any way. I let them have their space. Like but it's not one of those things where I let my kids do whatever the hell they want to do. Like my kid, like my, I'm a gentle parent, but also like I'm borderline. I'm borderline a helicopter parent, in the fact that I do monitor what they do on their phones, what they do on their electronics, all that stuff. But on the other side, I'm not really a helicopter parent, because I do let them, be with their friends and stuff like that. Um, Sleepovers is something I ain't done yet. I don't know about that, but yeah, if there's some place they want to go to, a party or something, and if they're, they like, the other day my daughter went to a birthday party and one of her friends, and she was wanted me to leave. Like, well, she didn't want me to leave, but she was okay with me leaving, and like not following her around. So, and I was like, okay, like, I'll give you, your space with your friends, like that. So I feel like I'm borderline helicopter parent, but at the same time, I'm a gentle parent, and that works for my kids. And I really do honestly feel like, because, and it's not to say that my kids have had gentle parenting out the gate, because my husband was very much the enforcer, and my husband was just raised differently. So my husband was raised like, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, I'm going to make you understand. So that way you never forget it. And my husband was the disciplinary. So it's not like my kids have never been, whooped before, or they ain't never been cussed out before, because they have. They most certainly have. And I don't think it was to their detriment, because that was my husband was parenting off of the way that he was raised. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't hold that against him, but it's just that I wasn't raised that way. So I parent differently off of how I was raised. And even with my husband being gone now, and it just being me and them getting this gentle parenting, it's still they don't try to take advantage of me. They don't try to walk all over me. They don't try to get away with things that they know that they shouldn't get away with. They know that, okay, this is mom, what she says, that's what it is. And we keep it pushing, like we keep moving forward. And like I said, because they've had both sides of the spectrum before. And there were some times where, like, I just had to kind of step back and, like, let my husband take the lead, like, on certain things, like as far as, discipline or whatever like that. But then there was some times where I had to step in and kind of with that gentle parenting. So they know both sides of the spectrum. So and I feel like where we're at now, as far as how I parent them now, I mean, it just works for us. Like, it just really works for us. And when I was at work the other day, they had my kids had called me because I had told the boys to clean up their room. One of the boys was not helping the other boy clean up their room. So my daughter called me because they were in like a little argument, it couldn't get resolved. And that's what I tell them to do, like if they're unable to resolve their grievances, or it's starting to escalate, I tell them, like, call me. Let's figure it out so we can squash it and, go about our day. So my daughter calls me and the boys are arguing because one boy doesn't want to help clean up the room. And so I'm talking to them on the phone, and I'm using a calm voice. I'm not yelling or anything like that, but at the same time I'm at work and I'm on the floor, so people around me can hear me, and my coworkers, unbeknownst to me, like, they're listening to what I'm saying. So, and I'm talking to them, I'm saying, like, okay, Genesis, exit the room. Let the boys clean up their room. They all understand now. Like, we talked it out. They all understand what needs to be done. So go ahead and exit the room. They don't need you hovering over them anymore. They got this. And so I got off the phone with them, and my coworkers were like, "You're so calm. Like, you're just so gentle." And one of them was like, I'm definitely not that parent. Like, I be yelling at my kids. Like, I be throwing a fit. And I'm like, why? Why would you do that? um, I don't know. Like, I've always felt like I shouldn't have to do things like that. And my parents didn't have to do, like, I just wasn't raised that way. So I don't know. I guess it just kind of bled over to how I parent my kids, and they're just always in awe by how I speak to my children. And then in turn, people always tell me how wonderful my kids speak, and how, articulate and fluent they are when they speak. And it's because I talk to them like they have sense. Like, like I said, like, I speak very clearly and concise. I don't mince my words. My yes is a yes and my no is a no. Like, there is no in between. Like, I don't know how else to speak to them. Um so but I'll take the compliment anytime, because I know that for some people, especially if they weren't raised that way, it's hard. And I get that, and I'm not judging anybody or anything like that. It's just that it's some people have to have that extra authority, or you know whatever extra behind what they say. And some people can be gentle parents and still be able to get their point across. And I mean, it I don't know. For me, my measure of success is, as long as my kids don't grow up being like I'm being like mass murderers or nothing like that. Like, I think I'm okay. Like, that's my measure of success. They don't have to graduate, go to college, like on a full ride. Like, they don't have to have the best job, but at least be a productive member of society. Be respectful to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Cherish and value your relationships, and just do right by yourself. Like, that's all really I expect from my kids. And so I try to show them that every day. So with that, I talk to them like they have sense. I avoid telling them to do things that aren't realistic, and I avoid telling them to do things that are out of their control, or things that just make absolutely no sense. Like, and y'all know what I'm talking about, because there's some bullshit that we'll tell our kids that, like, our moms told us and our moms told them, and it's like, it should just don't make any sense. Like what did they used to tell us? Like, if we got in trouble, I'm gonna beat you till your daddy come home. That doesn't make any sense. That never made sense to me. And it's like, why would you beat me until this man comes home? He's gonna be home in like 8 hours. Like, so you're gonna beat me for 8 hours continuously? Like, doesn't even make any sense. Like, absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I try to avoid just telling them things, like I said, that just make absolutely no sense. Listen, if I don't talk to my kids like I got sense, then they'll believe things that don't make sense. Like, they'll go out into the world like believing nonsense. So the way that I talk to them, like, just hold on, like, that was a word. Hold on, hold on, y'all almost let that slip by. Listen, if I don't talk to my kids like I got sense, then they'll believe things that don't make sense. If you don't talk to your kids like you got some sense, then they'll believe things that don't make any sense. Period. Like, it's just, I, and that's why I talk to my kids the way that I talk to them, without yelling, without going crazy, because I need them to be able to hear and understand me, so that way they know what to do going forward. And that's how they'll treat everyone and everything when they go out into the world. Like, they'll listen for understanding and for clarity. They'll ask questions if something doesn't make sense. They just won't fall for the okey doke because someone said. Like, if my kids go outside and the motherfucker tell them that the sky is green, they're not gonna believe it because it doesn't make sense when they look up at the sky and it's clearly blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I need my kids to be able to understand. They need to be able to interpret and understand. And I started at home. I speak to them as clearly as I can. And if they don't understand what I'm saying, okay, I'll go over it again. I'll say it in a different way. Maybe you'll understand it that way. And I'm flexible. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to, however they need me to cater to them, and however they need me to help them understand the ask, the task, all that stuff. Like, I'm good with that. And I don't try to put anything more on them that, that's just unrealistic. Like, I know, like, for example, like, my mom, when she was younger, like, she was expected to make dinner and stuff for her younger siblings because she was the oldest sibling. Dinner was supposed to be like, I'm not talking about like some ramen noodles. I don't even think those were a thing back then. But like, she's making like full meals for her siblings while her mom is at work. And when her mom comes home from work, the food is ready, it's hot, and you know what I'm saying? Like, but those expectations from me were unrealistic. So my mom never required that of me, because one, I'm the youngest, and two, like, I don't even like to cook. And she knew that from a young age, and she didn't try to force it on me. So that's what I mean. Like, I don't try to put unrealistic expectations or tell them to do unrealistic things. And even though like my daughter here is the oldest of her two siblings here, I don't expect her to feed them. If I tell them, it's microwavables for dinner, and then by the time it's time to close down the kitchen, no one got no microwavables. The kitchen's closed now, and it's bedtime because y'all gotta go to school. So, I do expect them to take responsibility for their own actions and what they do. So if you're hungry, you get up and you fix yourself something to eat. Um, and of course, there are some things that I do expect of her as being the older sibling, watching out for her little siblings. I do expect her to, make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing, like if it's chores or whatnot, all that good stuff. But I don't expect her to be able to effectively calm my son down if he's having a meltdown or something like that. I do expect her, if she wants to try, she can, but she already knows, like, if something goes wrong and Solomon needs me, to call me. And so that way I can talk him through whatever he's going through. And yeah, I just try to make it make sense for my kids so that way there's no misunderstanding and they can't come back to me and say that, oh, I didn't understand, or I don't understand what you're trying to ask me to do. Like, and nothing. Um, but I'm also really careful on how I talk to my kids because they'll always remember how I made them feel. And I think it was Maya Angelou. Was that a quote? Like, people will forget what you said, but never how you made them feel, or something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So they may, as they get older, like they may forget some of the things that I told them, but when they're in a situation like that again, they'll remember the feeling and they'll be like, "Oh, okay. I remember this feeling and I don't like that." Or I remember this feeling and I remember, feeling like this is something that I could do, or this is something that I can overcome. So, let's keep pushing forward. So I watch my mouth, and I expect them to watch their mouth. So I watch my mouth too with my kids, and I'm not ashamed of that. I don't feel like I gotta cuss them out all the time in order for them to understand where I'm coming from. Um, and I don't subscribe to the you gotta, like, if you have sons, like, you gotta be hard on them. You gotta be harder on them than society will, so that way when they go out into the world, like, whatever society throws at them, it'll be like nothing. What does that even mean? Could you imagine me telling my sons, like, I'm only doing this so that way, I'm only doing this now, like, I'm doing this tough love now so that way, when you go out into the world and you experience it from society, police, or whatever, then you'll be used to it. Or, I'm doing this to you so you won't go out and fuck up and have somebody else in jail do it to you, or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. Um, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I could do all that, and my sons can go out there and still get shot by the police. Still, they can still be out on a subway train and get choked out for having a mental breakdown because life got too heavy. So, yeah, I'm not with that at all. And I don't think I have to be tougher on my kids just because society is going to be tough on them. Like, I don't know. I'm cool on all that. But yeah, I'm just going to take my gentle parenting and mind my business because it is working out great for us. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I hope you guys found this episode useful, helpful. Hopefully it gave you a little bit of insight to gentle parenting, or at least how I gentle parent my children. But yeah, if you liked it, make sure to share with someone else who you think may also enjoy it. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.